Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, and today we're going to talk about UFC Vegas 99. Michel Demolidor Pereira versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. And my friend, it's going down this Saturday night live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. You got two top 15 middleweights trying to become household names and get into that top 10. And this is such a well-matched fight that I cannot wait to break it down, plus the rest of the card. Like I keep saying every week, we got vets, we got up and comers, we got everything that you want in a fight night card. It's all here. So without further ado, my friends, let's get down to business. Main event of the evening in the middleweight division. We got Michel Demolidor Pereira. He's 31-11, taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who's 12-2. Currently, they got it. Anthony Hernandez minus 135. The comeback on Michel Pereira is plus 115. So, yeah, there's been a lot of back and forth action on this fight, and I completely understand why. Listen, I made a tweet not too long ago, and I said, I'm going to tell you exactly what I said on that tweet. I wrote, Pereira versus Hernandez is a very easy fight to break down, but not an easy fight to predict. And let me explain exactly what I mean by that. So, this dude, Michel Pereira, ever since he moved up to 185 pounds, I mean, he's been killing guys. Like, no one's gotten past a minute and 6 seconds with him since he's gone up. And I'm talking about, he went in there with Andre Petroski, who was undefeated in the weight class and in the UFC up until that point. And he didn't just, scrape by or edge of this. No, I mean, one punch and the fight was over. And we're talking about a guy in Petroski who was on like a big win streak up until that point, riding with confidence, and Michel just destroyed him. Then he fights Michal Oleksiejczuk and Ihor Potieria. And I get it. Michal Oleksiejczuk, we love watching him fight, but he's kind of washing out a bit. And Ihor Potieria also kind of, a young kid that's trying to make a name for himself, but has gone through a lot of ups and downs. But like, you look at like Ihor Potieria's last fight that he just had with Cesar Almeida, and they go out there and they go the full distance. You look at his fight with that Robert dude from KSW, they go the distance too. You look at Michal Oleksiejczuk's most recent fight against Shara Bullet Magomedov, and it's a 3-round competitive fight. What I'm trying to say here is that Demolidor is just getting these guys out of there like it's no one's business. And there's a method to the madness. Because I know when he used to, when he first got on the UFC scene, he was doing all those backflips. He's still doing them a little bit, but he kind of reels it in a bit. But what he's got many weapons. First of all, look at the size of this guy. I understand why Wonder Boy turned that fight down. People could say weight miss all they want. But the reality is, if a lesser opponent missed weight, Wonder Boy would have taken that fight without hesitation. But you saw the size of that dude. He was like, yeah, no thanks. But that was the best thing that ever happened to Michel, because ever since then he left 170, where he was on an insane win streak. I mean, he beat guys like Chaos Williams, Santiago Ponzinibbio, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't truly think, and this might be controversial, I mean, officially I'm incorrect in what I'm saying here, but I don't think that Michel Pereira is truly lost inside the octagon. Like, he makes his debut against Danny Roberts and puts on an all-time highlight. Y'all got to go back and watch that. It looks like a video game character. I think his head exploded so big. The next fight against this Tristan Connolly guy, he comes in there, misses weight. He's doing more backflips than usual. And, that wasn't about Tristan Connolly beating Michel Pereira. That was about Michel Pereira beating Michel Pereira. And if they ever ran it back, I fully suspect that Michel Pereira would knee this guy into the 10th row. And then the Diego Sanchez fight, I mean, that was a clear win for Michel Pereira, but Diego pulled an Aljo, and, when you get knocked out by a knee and they call you the winner, it's just unreal to me, man. But besides that, he doesn't have any UFC losses, and those aren't really losses in my book either. So now he's on this insane win streak. I mean, what are we talking about? 8-fight win streak, including 3 in this new division. So he's someone that's primed to get into the top 10. And like I said earlier, the big weapons he brings to the table, I mean, besides the physicality and all that, the athleticism, he's got this front kick. It's not just a regular teep or push. It's like this stabbing front kick. And your toes go right into the liver, and it just man, it's like it leaves you breathless and there's nothing you can do. It paralyzes your body temporarily. And like he's really damn good at getting those. And then he also has a nasty guillotine choke as well. And the reason I got to bring up those two specific weapons of Michel Demolidor Pereira is because both of those weapons have been used against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez in the past. The body, being hurt to the body, whether it's the loss against Marcus Maluko Perez or the loss against Kevin Holland, where his body was butchered. Marcus Maluko jumped on dangled off his neck after destroying his body, but Kevin Holland just destroyed his body and got him out of there. Since then, what has Anthony Fluffy Hernandez done? Man, since then, he's gone on a nice little 5-fight run and submits Rodolfo Vieira. I was at the Josh Frem fight, destroys Mark Andre Barrio. But the last two fights are the ones I want to talk about, the Edmund Shabazian fight and the Roman Kopylov fight. I feel like Anthony Fluffy Hernandez is so confident in his ability to take your damage up front. And if you start to even show him an ounce of, okay, I'm going to start backing up now, I'm going to start breathing heavy, this guy goes into a different gear. Like he becomes a different person at a certain point in the fight. So like basically when I watch Fluffy, do any of y'all play video games? It feels like a load screen, okay? When the fight first starts with Fluffy Hernandez, we're at 0%, right? But if he can get to that threshold and the load screen can go all the way to 100%, like, dude, he becomes a completely different guy. Like, I see like Khabib-esque qualities in this guy once he gets past those initial storms, if he can. Because the thing about it is, I mentioned he's super, like, almost cocky and arrogant about his ability to take that damage up front. If you watch that Edmund Shabazian fight, and we all know Edmund Shabazian's historically a first round or bust guy, but like there were even spots in that fight in the second round where like Anthony Fluffy showed Edmund zero respect. Like he had disdain for what was coming back at him, that he put himself in such dangerous spots that against a better opponent, they might be able to capitalize and get him out of there. A point in case I'm trying to make here is, for example, when Edmund Shabazian had that guillotine on Fluffy, and it wasn't because Edmund had this beautiful setup or something. It was because Fluffy, like I said, he's super arrogant in the first couple minutes of the fight. Like, yeah, okay, throw everything you got, but once it's my turn, I am going to take you to the depths of the ocean and drown you, But man, he gets himself in some bad spots. So he puts himself in a guillotine against Edmund because he had no respect for Edmund. He's like, this guy ain't about to choke me out. All of a sudden, the guillotine is fully locked in, and Fluffy has to bail to his back. That's one way to escape a guillotine, because that shit was locked in. Michel's been fucking sleeping guys with those chokes. Firstly, he goes to the body with that stabbing front kick. You got to be specific about the kind of kick he's using there. Like I said, not a traditional teep, not a traditional push kick. It's this stabbing liver kick. And like he goes to that, and then he gets your neck, and Fluffy can't play around like he has these last two fights with Kopylov, where anytime those guys land shots at him, Fluffy starts smiling, sticking his tongue out. It's like, oh, you missed on those two. Sticks his, like, you. I'm telling you, that shit is only gonna work if you get Michel Pereira. Like, you have Anthony Fluffy Hernandez has to get to that threshold where he can take over. He cannot just dominate from the beginning of the fight. He's gonna have to overcome some stuff. So if you're looking to bet Fluffy, like if you bet him before the fact, like pre-bet, then hey, you got big balls, because you might have to go through some shit. You might not even get past the first round. But this could create a live betting opportunity where if hey, if you can get through that buffer zone and fully tap into that Super Saiyan, middleweight American Khabib, I guess Mexican American Khabib, like then, I mean, the kind of pace and relentlessness that Anthony Fluffy Hernandez has, I mean, he averages nearly 7 takedowns per 15 minutes, and his takedown accuracy is almost 50%, meaning he's getting one of every 2 takedowns that he goes for. Now on the other side, Michel Pereira has got 94% takedown defense, but there's got to be context in that, because when you look through the people he's fought, I don't see a single, relentless, weaponized cardio wrestler on his resume. That this will be the first. The thing about it is that guy, Anthony Fluffy, is super vulnerable early, and Michel is fantastic at closing the show early in fights. So that's what makes it so intriguing to me. I think pre-bet or pre-fight, I'd be willing to, take the underdog shot on Michel Pereira. But if I see that live that, Fluffy's starting to survive, he took the ass whooping, you're still there, and now you're starting to, wear this guy down, make it a battle of attrition, start to shoot a million takedowns, then you can always hedge out and you might be able to get a good some good odds on Fluffy live. So yeah, like I said, it's an easy fight to break down. I think the early going, Michel Pereira has a chance to blow this dude out the water. Like the openings have been shown that they're there. He does have a weakness to the body. People have dangled off his neck before, and he is a slow starter. Michel's a very fast starter. But the thing about it is Michel's gassed in the past. Now, granted, it was at 170. Those 15 extra pounds of water in his body and brain hopefully go a long way for him to where he doesn't need to just get a first round finish. And granted, he was winning decisions at 170. Let's not act like this guy is a total gas bag or anything, but I'm just saying Fluffy pushes a different kind of pace. So what do y'all think? Leave me a comment below. Does Fluffy get past the threshold? Does his load bar get all the way to 100 when he's able to really tap in and wake up? Or is he just going to get blown out before that happens? So yeah, that's super tough for me to predict. I'm gonna actually, when it's tough like this for me, I'm gonna go with this betting angle where if I bet it pre-fight, I'm gonna take the underdog Michel Pereira, hope that he can just steamroll him real quick. But if I start to see that, Anthony is maneuvering around, is starting to kind of weasel, starting to kind of get on the legs a bit, you start to see Michel huffing, I still think there's a chance you can get dog odds on Fluffy live. So that's how I'd approach this fight. So pre-fight, I'm gonna go with Michel Demolidor, but yeah, pay attention to live betting for this one because incredible main event. Like I want to see who's ready for the top 10. I mean, I think they both are to be frank, but who's going to move up Saturday night? So man, amazing matchmaking. What a main event. And I can't wait to watch it. Co-main event of the evening in the bantamweight division. We got Rob Font, or as we like to say in Brazil, my friends, Hobby Font. He's 20-8, taking on Kyler the Matrix Phillips, who's 12-2. Currently, they got it. Kyler Phillips minus 450. The comeback on Hobby Font is plus 325. So obviously, if we're picking Kyler, there's not much we can do with this minus 450. So I was thinking, tell me y'all's opinion on this. What do y'all think about possibly taking the under 2.5 rounds at plus 185? Like I know a lot of Phillips's fights have gone to decision, and that's why it's lined where it is. But at the same time, Font has been dropped a lot and in a lot of fights. Like let's pull up Font's recent fights. So Hobby Font, so 3 times dropped against Marlon Vera, twice dropped against Aldo. It's 5 times in 2 fights. But the thing about it is Marlon was playing a lot of games. He'd drop him and then he'd do like a little shimmy dance, and he didn't really try to close the show. I'm curious to see if Kyler Phillips, if he drops or wobbles Rob Font, where Rob Font is at that point in his career where, listen, man, let me give Rob Font credit before I start bringing up his current form. Rob Font has one of the best jabs in bantamweight history. This guy's been in the UFC since 2014. Nothing but respect. Fought tough competition the whole way. Legends, vets, up-and-comers, champs. Like, man, respect Rob Font. One of the original New England cartel guys with Calvin Kattar. So, I mean, there's nothing but positive things to say about it. It's just that, isn't Rob Font like 37 now? I'm pretty sure he's getting up there. Yeah, my boy Rob Font's 37, guys. The circle of life, my friends. I think that Kyler Phillips, he's paid his dues. He's fast. He's dynamic. They call it the Matrix because he does stuff that other guys can't do. I do want to see some more finishes from him, but it's not for a lack of trying, But the thing I'm worried about, because I was talking about I'm interested in that under 2.5 at plus 185. So I definitely think that Kyler Phillips can rock Rob Font, have him wobbling. Kyler got a knockdown against Hione. Shout out Hione. I'm a big fan of his. So I definitely think Kyler can rock Rob on the feet. And if he does, there's a good chance he closes the show. And also with all their fights that have been going to decision, hopefully, now we got some variance on our side that now we get a finish. But the thing I'm worried about, why I can't confidently plant my flag on the under 2.5 is because Rob Font his wrestling's never been the best, but those last 2 fights against Sandhagen and Davison, how easily he got taken down, that's what I'm worried about, that Kyler finds that wrestling weakness. And hey, if this guy is not going to get back up, fuck it. I'm going to win the fight. Do whatever it takes to win. Like, this dude doesn't care about our bets. He cares about going out there and winning, which is all that matters. But we're dealing with a minus 450. So I'm not playing him straight at minus 450. I'm not interested in parlaying him at that. Like, if you got him in the minus twos, okay, that's one thing. But like minus 450, we either got to pass, we got to look at other options, or if y'all think that Rob Font is live, have at it. I mean, it's big odds. I just think that timing is everything in this sport, and Kyler's catching Rob at the perfect time. So it's either a pass for me, or I'll take a small shot on the under 2.5 at plus 185. Let me know what y'all think about that. Like, should I gamble on that one, or should I pass? Let me know. But I'm gonna pick Kyler Phillips for the dub. Featured bout in the flyweight division. We got a matchup between Mudaerji. We used to call him Chinese Connor. He's 16-6, taking on Charles Johnson, who's also 16-6, identical records. Currently, they got it. Charles Johnson minus 210. The comeback on Sue is plus 180. So real quick, let me look up what Charles Johnson's historical lines have been, because this has to be, minus like the Flick fight, one of the first times that this guy has been like a minus 2 something favorite. Like, let me pull this up. Okay, so let's start from the beginning of his UFC career. So he fights Muhammad Makayev. Of course, he's a big dog there. Fights Zalgazumagulov. Okay, Charles was minus 175 there. Against Flick, like I said, he was a favorite there. It was a favorite against Durden. Shout out to my boy Cody Durden, 30-20-70 him. Should we call Durden right now and see his opinion on this? No, it's all good. I know Durden's opinion on this. The Esteban fight closed the dog. The Maxim fight closed the dog. The Hadley fight closed the dog. The Van fight closed the big dog, like plus 240. Now he's minus 225. So it's been a while since we've seen these kind of odds on Charles Johnson. But I mean, I completely get it. He's got a lot of momentum, and Sue is one-dimensional, hasn't made the kind of improvements we've wanted to see in terms of rounding out his game. But I got to give Sue credit because we know the blueprint on how to beat Sue Mudaerji. Oh, and real quick, when people give me shit about saying, why'd you call him Chinese Connor? I'm not saying he's going to be the next McGregor, guys. Please don't take that. And don't let that part be what I said, that you make a big deal out of. What I meant was he's got that, like, that sly, hands down, pull counter style, wide base, leaps in and out of the pocket, like, a poor man's Chinese Connor, like that. We have Conor McGregor at home. You know what I'm saying, dog? So that's what I mean when I call him Chinese Connor. But one thing that Cody Durden told me about Charles Johnson, because Cody's fighting Josh Van, so, I'm sure you guys know that fighters watch tape on their opponents and they scout certain things. And one thing he told me, I'm not going to tell you all everything, but one thing he told me was that he feels like Charles Johnson doesn't stand his ground enough in fights. And I can understand where he's coming from. And I do think early on in this fight that Sue's going to compete with Charles. Like, Sue is no slouch standing at all. Where Sue is a slouch is when he finally gets taken down. But let me give Sue credit. I'm not sure if I already mentioned this or not, but Sue's takedown defense actually improved significantly. If you watch that last fight with Tim Elliott. Now, if you just look at the result, it says, he got finished in the first round. What do you mean? One takedown, the fight was over shortly after. So what do you mean his takedown defense got better? Let me explain what I mean. So it took 3 attempts before Tim Elliott was able to take him down. And if y'all go back and watch those attempts, Tim Elliott had Sue Mudaerji's leg all the way over his head. Like, this dude, Sue Mudaerji, was bouncing on one leg, and he did it 2 times, which is something that I was like some BJ Penn shit. I was like, okay, Sue, I see the work you've been putting in, man. But the thing is, he couldn't keep it up. And when he finally got taken down, it was like life alert, help, I've fallen and can't get back up. And that's just the unfortunate thing about it. But the good news for him is Charles rarely goes for takedowns. But when I have seen Charles go for takedowns, he's had some really nice ones. He had a really nice body lock takedown against Ode Osborne, hit a couple against Azat Maxim. And while I definitely think they're going to strike this one out, and if they do, I kind of see it being, kind of a bit of maybe a 29-28 for Charles Johnson, where, he's a slow starter, loses the first round, starts to, pick it up in the second and third. But like, I don't think that Charles is going to relentlessly wrestle by any means. Charles is a striker. He's smooth. He switches stances. People talk about his hands. What about his kicks? He's got a very nice stabbing front kick, kind of like we were talking about in that main event with Michel Demolidor Pereira. But I think if Charles can feint the level change, like not necessarily go for takedown after takedown after takedown, but just feint the level change, give him that look, give him something to worry about, and then into the second round, halfway to the second round, you can go for that body lock takedown and get him down. And from there, I wouldn't be surprised to see Charles get a submission. I mean, he had a nice long man choke on Mokaev. He wasn't able to finish it, but he gets that same choke on Mudaerji. And it's tap, tap, nap, nap. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think Charles is going to win the fight, but it does have potential to play out close in terms of, like, it goes to decision. It could be a 29-28. Like, Sue's no slouch standing, man. Like, Sue can bang. It's just he's always had an issue on the mat. It's not something new. It's like this ain't something recent. This has been going on for years, back on his regionals, early UFC career, recent UFC career. I mean, I don't want to say he's one of those guys that skips, wrestling practice and jujitsu practice. I just think it doesn't come natural to him. The reason I don't think he skips practice is like I said, in that Tim Elliott fight, he was balancing on one leg with the other leg all the way over his head. I was like, okay, Sue, that's something you would have never done in the past. And Tim Elliott is a relentless wrestler. So I give Sue some credit for that. But that being said, I think Charles has been more active. I think he's more well-rounded. And I think that right now the momentum is going to carry him through for a win, but I'm not convinced that the win is as dominant as people might think it's going to be. So that's where I might be proven right or wrong. So let's see. But either way, I'm going to go with energy to continue that win streak. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Brady Hiestand. He's 8-2, taking on Jake Hadley, who's 11-3. Currently, they got it. Brady Hiestand -150. The comeback on Jake Hadley is +130. So pre-tape, I was actually really interested in betting Jake Hadley. But, the tape is not the be-all, end-all. And sometimes the tape will talk you off a really good underdog spot or just a really good spot in general, right? And when I watch the tape on this, firstly, this dude Brady, okay, his stand-up might not be the best. He's maybe gotten dropped in 3 of his 4 UFC fights, but like, this dude Brady has brass balls. He's strong as hell, and he is relentless with his takedowns, man. I mean, that last fight against Armfield, he got 6 takedowns. He attempted 13, okay? And initially, I thought that Armfield may have shown some really questionable fight IQ, but actually, when I went back and watched it, that's actually all credit to Brady. Let me explain what I mean, because people had an issue with Armfield dropping Brady and then not letting him back up. But when I watched it last night, man, I don't think it's that simple. I think he had him badly hurt. It seemed like a couple follow-ups, and that fight might be over. And I think that that Armfield went to follow up. And the thing about it was he gassed himself trying to follow up. And then from there, you're in the guard of Brady. Now Brady's trying to set up triangles. And Brady is just such a funky guy to deal with on the mat. And he's got size for the weight class too. And I actually spoke to my boy Cody Darren about this because he beat Jake Hadley and he trained with Brady. I was like, what do you think about this fight? He's like, dude, Brady, I was surprised how strong Brady was. He was like, God damn, like Brady gets on top of this guy. Kid might not get back up, But on the feet, I definitely think that Hadley has a big advantage. But my issue with Hadley is this. Like, I think Hadley is very, very talented. I think he's a good fighter. But I think that there's certain mental things that I can't quite put my finger on. Like, sometimes I don't see the assertiveness that I want to see from Jake Hadley. Like, I think he did a great job in that last fight, kind of against that Marvin Vittori type guy, the Keelan Loughran, and just kind of picked him apart. But like, I didn't see the aggression that I wanted to see, and I haven't seen that in a long time. But don't get me wrong, this guy does have better hands than Brady, and if Brady wants to test his stand-up, Hadley can pick him apart, jab him, land a straight down the pipe, drop him, go to the body. Hadley's very nice how he goes to the body. Like, you saw what he did to Malcolm Gordon in a minute, and like, people can say, oh, but that's Malcolm Gordon. Yeah, Mokaev wasn't out here putting Malcolm Gordon out in a minute. It took him until like the 3rd round, and Malcolm Gordon even almost had a locked-in rear naked choke on Mokaev. So just saying, Hadley got him out of there like right away. Like Hadley, he's got some decent hands. He does a little bit of that Wang Chung stuff with his blocking too. And he paid for it against Johnson, but Johnson is a long, rangy striker, whereas Hiestand, he's just a relentless grappler. This one is a tough one to call because both guys have passed the victory, but ultimately I'm gonna go with Brady Hiestand to weather any kind of adversity that's presented his way. And when he gets on top of Hadley, I think Hadley's gonna have a really tough time getting Hiestand off of him. And I think that Hiestand either a decision or a submission win here. So yeah, I'm going Brady Hiestand. Next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between two OGs. We got Darren the Damage Elkins. He's 28-11, taking on Daniel the Pit Pineda, who's 28-16. Currently, they got it. It's a pick 'em, with a slight lean on Pineda, -115 Pineda, -105 Elkins. I love this fight. I see a lot of confidence on Elkins. I mean, I get it in terms of like Pineda has been known for like if he can't finish you early, he does kind of gas and can get grinded out, and I see that. But who's to say he's not getting this early finish? Because let me tell y'all one thing about Pineda. Y'all see how he's got 28 wins, right? And actually, between you and me, he's got 30 wins because 2 of his PFL fights were overturned. Okay, so 30 wins. Out of those 30 wins, take a quick guess. Don't look it up. How many of those 30 wins that Daniel Pineda has do you think are finishes, and how many of them do you think went the distance? All 30 of Daniel Pineda's wins are finishes. This guy is a killer through and through. The unfortunate part with him is he's been to decision 7 times, and he's lost all 7 of those. So basically, the point is that this guy is kill. I'm not gonna say be killed. I mean, he's been killed his fair share of times too, but like it's kill or be killed, but it's like kill or lose on the judge's decision type ordeal here. And man, I thought that even now at 39 years old, right? You've already tested positive for steroids before in fights and all that, but like I thought he fought really well with Nathaniel Wood, man. I thought he overcame a really bad body shot. We keep talking about those stabbing kicks to the gut. I feel like that's been a common theme on this card. But man, that Kimura hip bump sweep that he hit on Nathaniel Wood, I was like, oh, okay, Pineda. Like that was nasty. And I mean, this guy's got 19 submissions. He's got 9 knockouts on his record. And Darren Elkins is a walking punching bag. Look, if Darren Elkins can survive this storm, he's got a great chance, but I don't think he does survive this storm. Actually, I think that Daniel Pineda comes out here and finishes Darren Elkins in the first round. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Matheus Nicolau. He's 19-4-1, taking on Asu Almabaev, who's 20-2. Currently, they got it. Asu -175. The comeback on Nicolau's +150. So I know we're not often used to getting these, -150, these kind of shorter, +150. These kind of nice dog odds on Nicolau. I mean, that last fight against Perez, it was like -175, and I lost on that. But I have a soft spot for Nicolau because back in the day, he cashed like a 6-unit massive bet for me against Louis Smolka. And you might say, oh, yeah, you're a genius. You picked him against Smolka. Like, what's the big deal? Yeah, I bet him at -175, not like -500. Okay, so there was clear value on that line. So I'll always have a soft spot. Matheus did have to battle with me right after that. So I'll always have love for Matheus. But the thing about it is I'm curious if Matheus is kind of plateauing a little bit because I haven't really seen much evolution in his game. He's just always been good at what he's good at, and that's about it. Like he's kind of got sharp boxing, but kind of on the lower output, and good jiu-jitsu, amazing takedown defense, but he fights at a very low pace. And that's the difference here. Because this kid, Asu Almabaev, he might not have the clean hands that Nicolau has. He might not have that Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt or that Nova União level takedown defense that Nicolau has. But one thing that Asu does have, he's got that motor and that willingness to push and just be relentless and try as hard as he can. So the way for him to lose a fight like that is in taking all those risks and going forward the entire time and not accepting no for an answer. He could leave himself open to counters, right? But I kind of see this being a 3-round decision where it could be a split. I mean, with these judges, who the fuck knows what what they favor anymore. First, I thought it was damage over control, and then I see certain decisions go certain ways. So who knows what they favor anymore? And this fight does have the potential to be close. Now, do I think that Asu is going to knock out Nicolau? Because Nicolau is coming off 2 back-to-back knockout losses. His chin's been tested. I really don't. This dude Asu only does have 3 knockouts on his record. That's not what he's known for. He's known for just being relentless, getting in your face, swarming you, mixing in the takedowns, and just making it a 3-round grind, but not a boring grind, a grind where you have to work your your damn tail off. So, yeah, this one should be interesting. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Nicolau, and I'd love to see him get back on track. Great guy. I think he's a very talented fighter, but just having to assess this unbiased and just keeping it a buck with y'all like I always do, I feel like Matheus Nicolau hasn't evolved much from the guy that fought Smolka. Don't get me wrong. He's matured. He's a little bit better, but it's like there hasn't been these big leaps where I feel like, okay, now you can make that title run. And I'm just worried about Matheus possibly washing out. He moved camps. He left Brazil. He's with Timo Oyama. He's with Team Oyama now, training with his former teammate, former opponent, Alex Perez. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about that, but I just think Asu is just going to push a slightly higher pace and win the decision based off that. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Brad Katona. He's 14-3, taking on Gian Matsumoto, who's 15-0. Currently, they got it. Gian Matsumoto minus 235. The comeback on Brad Katona is plus 200. I got to give Katona a lot of credit because he's one of these unassuming guys that looks like a dork. He is a dork. But, like, man, he's had a lot of success in the UFC. He's won the Ultimate Fighter twice. He had a fight of the night with Cody Gibson. But besides that, and he had a close fight with Merab. But besides that, doesn't really put on the kind of fights the fans want to see. He doesn't have a personality that anyone is, what's the word? It has to do with magnets. No one's magnetized by this guy's presence or personality. Like, that just ain't the case. And I think he might have overperformed in that Gibson fight because since then, like, the output is back to being super low, and he's just barely edging by these decisions. Like, Katona, just one of these guys that, like, it's not exciting to watch, but he's a seasoned vet and he's got some tactics in his back pocket. And if you're not quite experienced or ready for him, he will go out there and do the little things necessary to win the decision. But with this kid Matsumoto, he puts up really high volume. He doesn't quit. He reminds me a little bit of old school Tomas Almeida. Maybe not, with a better chin. Like, when he decides to get into the fire and throw, like, he goes for it, man. And he's super tough. He can overcome adversity, finish fights, of course. I'm pretty impressed. It's just, this is a step up in competition. You're born in 1999. You're still a kid. You're figuring things out. You're only 15-0. Like, no one's exempt from that first L. We talked about it with Tyra last week, man. Shout out Royval for that plus 260. I really appreciate you, my man. But the thing about this is that when I faded Tyra with Royval's the number 1 guy on planet Earth, looking better every single fight. Whereas, Gene Matsumoto taking his first L, I'm not convinced that Brad Katona, who, is kind of at the twilight of his career, is going to be the guy to do it. So, yeah, there could be some interesting close exchanges at times, but ultimately, I think that Matsumoto is going to do more, is going to be more active, is going to lay down more damage, and as a result, he probably gets the decision win. But, like, y'all know how I've been talking about how I've been waiting for that first Fereziam knockout, and then he finally got it. This is the opposite. I've been waiting for that first Brad Katona knockout loss. Like, I feel like it's coming, and maybe Saturday night is the time when it happens. So definitely going to be paying attention to that. Now, my friends, I want to give a huge shout out to Bet 105 for sponsoring today's episode of Half the Battle. Thank you all so much. Listen, Bet 105 is a great book because they don't limit winners. They always have some of the best odds and most competitive odds in the market. Not to mention that their payouts are super easy, smooth. You don't have to, You don't have to get some fucking money collector to go get your money with these guys. Like, there's no questions asked. Like I said, they don't limit winners, and I think that they're a good book that you guys got to check out because, like, people often complain about how they make bets on this book. Oh, it wins. Now you're limited. I remember back in the day, I'm not going to name the name of that book, but I went on a really big win streak, and then I had a bunch of money in the account, but they started limiting me to 50-cent bets, and then they gave me like every fucking loop to jump through to get that money I had in their back. You know what I'm saying? And I can't even gamble the money because they limited me to 50-cent limits. Bet105.eu is not going to do some scumbag stuff like that. Yeah, I think that just the fact that they don't limit winners, it's easy and quick payouts, and they have the best odds in the market, sounds like a no-brainer to me. So, my friends, make sure y'all check out bet105.eu. Tell them I sent you, and enjoy the betting experience that they bring to the table because odds do matter. And just being straightforward and honest and playing the game the right way also matters. So, thank you, Bet105, for sponsoring today's episode of Half the Battle. Truly, truly appreciate it. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Joselyne Edwards. She's 13-6, taking on Tamires Vidal, who's 7-3. Currently, they got it. Joselyne Edwards minus 250. The comeback on Tamires Vidal is plus 210. So, when this fight first got announced, I was like, man, Joselyne Edwards is gonna whoop this girl's ass, and I still think so, but they know it. The odds are, these odds makers are sharp. They realize that. But now that you have to lay a minus 250 price, you got to be worried about, well, these judges, what if they like the rear end of Vidal better? What if Vidal makes louder sounds? And that, like, the things I've been seeing from these judges lately are wild. Look at the main and co-main event last week. Yeah, was Royval and Tyra a close fight? Yes. But was it also a clear 3-2 Royval? Yes. Was Park versus Tavares a close fight? Yes. But was it also a clear 2-1 Park? Yes. Was Pilastri versus McKenna a close fight? I'm not too sure, man. I felt like Pilastri put it on this girl and it was still a split. So I'm just saying. That's my hesitancy. Laying a price like this on Joselyne. I think Joselyne's got this girl covered across the board. I don't think Tamires Vidal is UFC caliber whatsoever. I think that, she's got okay Muay Thai, but she can be taken down easily. She can be outpaced. She can be broken in fights. Y'all see a win over Aileen Perez on her record? That was not a win. That Aileen Perez. I saw a fight between Aileen Perez and Tamires Vidal. Yeah, they raised Tamires Vidal's arm as the winner, but what I saw with my with my own eyes was I saw Aileen Perez and Tamires Vidal get into a fight, and Aileen Perez whoop her ass. So I don't give a shit about some stupid rules or this or that. I care about what I saw. Yeah, I just don't think Tamires belongs, and I think that Joselyne, even though she's made questionable decisions along the way, the takedown defense isn't the best. Even when she gets on top of you, like when she hit 5 takedowns on Nora Cornorle, she kept getting reversed. So there's things that you have issues with, but there's other things I really like. She's landed over 100 significant strikes before. She's landed over 160 significant strikes before. So I think if Joselyne shows up, man, I think she's a level above Tamires Vidal. And for that reason, I think she's going to go out there, win this unanimous decision. Now, next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Jessica Penne. She's 14-7, taking on Elise Reed, who's 7-4. Currently, they got it. Elise Reed minus 180. The comeback on Jessica Penne is plus 155. So normally, I don't advocate laying minus 180 on Elise Reed, and I still don't. The reason that it's hard to get behind Jessica Penne is because she's like 11 years older. My girl was born in 1983. Like, she's 41, my guys. She turns 42 here pretty soon, and she's had an incredible career. Former title challenger, fight Joanna for the belt. Got a fight of the night in that fight. I don't know how. I thought that was performance of the night for Joanna Violence, but hey, they valued the toughness of Penne. Gave her a fight of the night there. She's had a lot of good wins along the way, but I think that there was a point where she changed her biological passport, whatever the fuck that means. And the last few haven't been giving me the confidence I need that, she can still win at this level. The thing with Elise Reed, though, is there is a path to victory here for Jessica, especially if she can get this to the mat. Because when you're talking about Elise Reed, she only has 42% takedown defense, guys. And she got taken down 5 times her last fight against Lupi, 3 times against Jinyu Frey, twice against Loma, once against Melissa Martinez, 4 times against Sam Hughes, 3 times against Corey McKenna, 1 time against Sajar Eubanks. Holy shit. This girl's been taken down in every single UFC fight she's had. Wow. And I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I can't hold the Tabitha Ricci fight against Penne because, like, Ricci is like a black belt. At least Reed can't stuff a takedown. And then the Ducote fight, yeah, Penne did go 0 for 8 on takedown attempts. So that's something to take note of. But let me say this, to Emily Ducote's defense, she has 94% takedown defense. She stuffed most of Lupi Godinez's takedowns. So I think we're dealing with styles make fights. Man, if Jessica wasn't 41, I might actually pick her here. Reason being is, like, she's got a clear path on the mat. And even on the feet, when you talk about Elise Reed, like, she does have good Muay Thai, but she fights at a very slow pace. Like, the most strikes that Elise Reed's ever landed in a fight, it's actually more than I thought. 76 against Corey McKenna, who's no longer in the UFC. But besides that, she hasn't landed, like, rarely anything. Like, she takes her time, but occasionally throws the occasional combo, the occasional kick, decent Muay Thai. But man, that takedown defense is suspect, and I don't know, man. Like, it's just tough to plant your flag when this girl's about to turn 42. Like, look, if Elise can stuff, I think she picks her apart. But, like, Penne usually fights at a higher pace and has that wrestling and jiu-jitsu advantage. It's just, can she still use it in her current form? I do not know. Wow, I really don't know in this fight. What are the odds? Yeah, minus 180 Elise Reed. You're like, okay, bro. It's just tough to want to pick Jessica Penne when she's in her current form. I don't know, man. This one I have no idea. I guess maybe pure pick Elise Reed, but from a betting perspective, this has to be dog or pass at these odds because there is a clear path to victory. It's just you got to be worried about her looking 40 something and not fighting to the best of her abilities. But Elise Reed is very, very beatable, and Jessica has a path. So I don't know, guys. That one I'm kind of stumped on. The next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Elise Ardelean. Ardelean? How did they say it? They made it sound so nice when they said it on the broadcast. Elise Ardelean. Either way, y'all know who I'm talking about. She's 9-6. She's taking on Melissa Martinez, who's 7-1. Currently, they got it. Melissa minus 130, Elise plus 110. Yeah, one little thing about Melissa, she hasn't won a fight since 2019. And another thing about her is she's not been fighting the best competition at all. Her most recent win was a split decision, against kind of a journeywoman. And then in that UFC debut against Elise Reed, she gets dropped in the first round and she gets easily taken down in, like, I think the third round against Elise Reed, who's not known for that. I just saw that Melissa Martinez is a little green, a little small for the weight class. And the thing with Elise Ardelean, she's fought way better competition than Melissa Martinez. I heard someone say that Melissa's fought better competition. Yeah, that is the fakest news I've ever heard. One of them's been in there with Zhang Wei Li. Okay, so and one of them's been in there with Elise Reed. You tell me who's fought the better competition. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, the thing about Elise Ardelean is that, like, so she is physical for the weight class. Like, for 115, she's a big chick, and when she gets on top of you, she's heavy. But, like, on the feet, she is a real fighter. She's a natural fighter, but she's a bit clumsy on the feet. She gets hit a bit too much. Isn't the most fluid striker in the world. It's just when she gets on top of you, you know what she can do. And then with Melissa Martinez, I'd say that, fluidity wise and technique wise, she's the better striker here, but she's on the smaller size. I feel like if Elise gets on top of her, Alice, is it Elise or Alice? Either way, Ardelean, um, Miss Georgia Peach, if you know what I mean. Like, this is a tough one for me to call, man, because I'm not sold on Melissa being this top prospect. And Elise, she's a journey woman, but she's been in there with real competition. She's paid dues. And she moved to Florida training under Julian Williams. Shout out Julian Williams. That's a really underrated coach from the Southeast, man. So, yeah, I don't know how this fight's going to play out, but I'll go with the underdog, Elise Ardelean, to come out here and get a lot of top control. Maybe a submission. Let's see. Now, last but not least, in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Robelis Despaigne. He's 5-1, taking on Austen Lane, who's 12-5. Currently, they got it Robelis minus 450. The comeback on Austen Lane is plus 350. So y'all saw this dude get exposed his last fight, and now you going back to the well to bet him again. Literally against Waldo, it took 3 takedowns to win the fight. 1 takedown each round, you won. But the thing about this dude, Austen Lane, look, his last fight, he tried to apply that game plan against Jonathan Deniz, man. He even got 1 takedown in that first round, held him down for like 4 minutes and 29 seconds. Like, it was like, okay, Austen, you found the blueprint. But as soon as round 2 started, couldn't get the takedowns anymore. Now you're a bit gassed, and Janata starched this dude. So hopefully Robelis Despaigne, because he is a good athlete. I mean, he's a freak athlete, 6'7" with the 84-inch reach, comes from a nasty striking background. And now he got exposed in that one area of the game back in May. I know it hasn't been that long to patch it up, but at least you survived and you know what these guys want to do against you. And with Austen Lane, he's shown that he can get those takedowns. He's also a freak athlete, 6'6" with the 80-inch reach. You know what I'm saying? Also, I think he might have made it to an NFL practice squad, or maybe like played a game or 2, or made it to the camp but didn't get the call. I forgot what the deal is. Y'all let me know about Austen Lane's NFL run. But the bottom line is, I don't think Austen Lane can stand with this guy, but what I think he can do is mix in takedowns. It's just, can he do it for 3 rounds? The last fight showed he couldn't, but maybe now he got a new strength and conditioning program and is putting in work so that he can push that pace for 3 straight rounds. So I'm not going to lay this price on Despaigne, but my official pick and prediction is Despaigne to come out here and knock out Austen Lane. Now we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So what is the fight to watch for UFC Vegas 99? I mean, I think that obviously the main event is one to watch. And I also think the co-main event, but I'm gonna have to go with the featured bout between Charles Johnson and Mudaerji. Listen, Charles Johnson went on a big skid. Now he's on a big win streak, and like, he's pissed off. He feels some type of way about not being ranked. And he's going up against this kid, Mudaerji, who was formerly ranked, a guy who had one of the best fights of the year against Matt Schnell. And even if he doesn't win every fight, he's still exciting and he still brings it. And he's still dangerous. And Charles, this could be a letdown spot for him. Charles needs to perform in a certain way to get that ranking that he wants here. And his back's up against the wall. I know he's been making improvements. He just hasn't been able to show it in the fights due to kind of the guys he's been fighting. Like Tim Elliott's just a tough matchup for him. I'm curious if Charles is like, yeah, this is my fight to watch. I can't wait to see Charles Johnson versus Mudaerji. Big flyweight implications in terms of, like, Charles wins, you move to the top 15. Mudaerji loses, like, you might be out the UFC. Mudaerji gets this big upset, all of a sudden, you're gonna get a nice little test next too. So yeah, that's my fight to watch. My fighter to watch, again, besides the guys in the main event, I think that I want to go with Brady Hiestand. I think that Brady Hiestand has a lot of holes in his stand-up, but I think that his grappling is something that you have to take note of, man, because he's been rocked in multiple fights, like almost been knocked out, and his grappling has bailed him in ways where, like, I'm like, wow. And not just offensively, defensively too. He survived a deep armbar against Garrett Armfield, and he can just scramble his ass off, and he's getting better every fight. He came to the UFC super green, but now, like I said, he's only 25. He's putting on size. He's starting to feel more comfortable. He's starting to feel like this is his home. And he's got an opponent in Jake Hadley who has a lot of hype, who's very talented, but has shown a weakness. Like, his jiu-jitsu's not his weakness. His weakness is his wrestling, and that he can't get back up from bottom. And I'm very curious to see how these grappling exchanges go. So for that reason, Brady Hiestand is my fighter to watch. Well, my friends, we did it. It's going down this Saturday night live at the Apex. Thank you all so much for all the support you guys are giving me. I'm trying my best to drop as much content as possible, more than I ever have. Like, I've been doing this a long time, and right now I feel like I'm at that point where it's time to go all in a way that I never have before, and make this happen, make my run right now. So that's what I'm trying to do. So y'all subscribing to my channel, leaving me comments, leaving me likes, sharing, all that, telling your friend that you like my show, or telling your friend that you fucking hate my show, but you should go check it out because whatever. All that kind of stuff really, really helps me. So we got the UFC breakdowns, the contenders breakdowns. I'm dropping more shorts like reels and stuff like that. Got the after the battle. I've been telling you for a while, I've been trying to bring that back. I did bring it back. And someone was like, you only brought it back because you won last week. Actually, I've won my last 4 events in a row, and I'm pretty sure I've won my last 6 of 8. It's just that I hadn't made my new like marketing / content, game plan up until then. Now I've kind of decided like, okay, it's time to be consistent and it's time to go all in. And that's what I plan on doing. Now, someone might call me a hypocrite because this weekend I'm going out of town. So I might not be able to do an after the battle. I'm going to visit my brother out of town this weekend. So I'm going to be back on Monday, but I'm still trying to get that after the battle out for y'all and more content throughout the week. So thank y'all again very, very much for all your support. Thanks bet105.eu for sponsoring today's episode of the podcast. Make sure y'all check them out. Like I said, they don't limit winners, super easy to use, none of the bullshit you got to deal with these other guys. So definitely check them out. Shout out Meticulous for the amazing graphics, the thumbnails, all your help with the shorts, everything. It's amazing. And again, to the fans, man, without y'all, there is no half the battle. So it truly means the world to me that y'all take time out of your day to listen to what I have to say and interact with me on Twitter, Best Fight Picks, on Twitter, Half the Battle HQ, on Instagram, Half the Battle Pod, and now on TikTok, Half the Battle Podcast. So yeah, follow me on all of those. Much, much love to you all. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.